Step into the eerie aisles of Midnight Terror's channel, where horror hides in plain sight. Tonight, the empty aisle reveals a true story of a Superstore worker stalked by a silent stranger. Is Megamart a place to shop or a predator's playground? Dim your screen, subscribe, and hold your breath. The shadows are watching. The fluorescent lights in the Megamart buzzed like a swarm of angry bees, casting a harsh white glow over the endless aisles. It was a sprawling 24-hour superstore on the outskirts of town. The kind of place where you could buy a TV, a frozen pizza, and a lawnmower all in one trip. I'd been working the night shift here for 3 months, stocking shelves in the electronics section. My name's Riley, and I took the job because it paid better than flipping burgers, even if it meant dealing with the eerie quiet of a store at 2 a.m. Most customers were night owls or truckers grabbing last-minute supplies, but every now and then, someone would wander in who didn't quite fit. It was a cold Wednesday, just past 1:30 a.m. The store was dead, the aisles stretching out like a maze under the flickering lights. I was restocking phone chargers, the plastic packages crinkling in my hands, when I felt it, a prickle on the back of my neck, like someone was watching. I glanced up, expecting to see my coworker, Sam, messing with me, but the aisle was empty. The security monitors behind the counter showed nothing but rows of shelves and the dimly lit parking lot outside. I shook it off, blaming the late hour and too much coffee. I moved to the next aisle, grabbing a box of Bluetooth speakers, but the feeling didn't go away. It was like a weight pressing down on me, making every sound, the hum of the lights, the faint squeak of my sneakers, seem louder. I turned, scanning the store. A couple of customers wandered far off. An old man in the grocery section, a woman with a cart near the toys. Nothing unusual. But then I saw him. He was standing at the end of the electronics aisle, maybe 30 feet away, half hidden by a display of TVs. A man in his mid-30s, wearing a dark jacket and a knit beanie pulled low. He wasn't shopping, wasn't moving, just standing there, his hands in his pockets, his head tilted slightly toward me. I froze, my heart giving a little jolt. He didn't look away, didn't pretend to browse. He just watched, his eyes glinting under the shadow of his beanie. I told myself he was probably waiting for someone, maybe deciding on a gadget. But the way he stood, so still, so deliberate, set my nerves on edge. I turned back to the speakers, pretending to work, but my hands were shaking. I glanced up again, and he was closer now, standing by the headphones, still watching. He hadn't made a sound, hadn't picked up a single item. My stomach twisted. This wasn't normal. I grabbed my walkie-talkie, ready to call Sam, who was in the back unloading a shipment. "Sam, you there?" I whispered, keeping my eyes on the man. Static crackled, but no answer. The battery was low, typical for the store's cheap equipment. I cursed under my breath and moved toward the counter, hoping to use the landline. The man shifted, following me with his eyes, his posture unchanged. He was closer now, maybe 20 feet away, standing by the phone cases. I reached the counter, my heart pounding, and pretended to organize receipts. The security monitors flickered, showing the man's grainy image. He was still there, his hands in his pockets, his head lowered slightly. I couldn't see his face clearly, but the way he stood, so focused, so intent, made my skin crawl. I dialed Sam's extension, but it rang and rang. No answer. The store felt smaller, the aisles closing in around me. I was about to head to the back when he moved again, drifting to the next aisle over. He didn't look at the shelves, didn't touch anything, just kept circling, always just close enough for me to notice. My mouth went dry. He wasn't shopping. He wasn't waiting for someone. He was watching me, and he wanted me to know it. I thought about the stories I'd heard, creeps in superstores, filming people, following them. Was he recording me? I couldn't see a phone, but his hands stayed in his pockets, hidden. I grabbed a price gun, its weight reassuring in my hand, and moved toward the main aisle, hoping to find Sam or another employee. The man followed, his footsteps silent, always staying just out of sight. I glanced at the monitors, my breath hitching. He was there, standing by the TVs again, his head tilted toward the camera. It was like he knew I was watching him, like he was playing a game. I was halfway to the back when a hand grabbed my arm. I yelped, spinning around, my heart in my throat. It was a woman, maybe in her late 20s, with long brown hair and a bright smile that didn't match her tired eyes. She wore a red coat and jeans, her grip firm but not painful. "Riley, oh my God, there you are," she said, her voice loud and cheerful, like we were old friends. The old man in the grocery aisle glanced over, but he just shuffled on. I stared at her, my mind racing. I'd never seen her before. "What are you?" I started, but she cut me off, pulling me gently toward the main aisle. "I've been looking everywhere for you," she said, laughing. Her smile was too wide, too perfect, like she was performing. I didn't move, my feet rooted to the floor. How did she know my name? My name tag was flipped backward, the blank side showing. She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "That guy in the beanie? He's been following you, recording you with his phone. Come with me, quick." My blood ran cold. I glanced at the man. He was still there, standing by the speakers now, his head lowered. I couldn't see his hands, but the way he stood, so still, so focused, confirmed her words. Fear gripped me, overriding my doubts. "Okay," I whispered, letting her pull me toward the back of the store. She kept talking, her voice loud and bubbly, like she was putting on a show. "Remember that time we went camping? God, we had so much fun," she said, laughing. I didn't respond. I'd never been camping with her. I didn't even know her name. We moved past the aisles, past the registers, toward the stock room. The store grew quieter, the lights dimmer. Her chatter didn't stop, but it felt forced, like she was filling the silence. "You're gonna love this story I've got," she said, her voice echoing in the empty space. I glanced back, hoping to see the man, but the aisles were out of sight. The old man and the woman with the cart were gone, probably at checkout. I was alone with her. "Hold on," I said, slowing down. "He's not following us. We're good now. Let's go find Sam." My voice shook, but I tried to sound firm. She didn't stop, her grip tightening. "Not yet," she said, her smile tightening. "He's still out there lurking. Trust me." We were nearing the stockroom door, beyond which was the loading dock, a dark, empty space with no cameras. My stomach dropped. This wasn't right. She wasn't helping me. She was leading me somewhere bad. "Let go," I said, planting my feet and twisting my arm. Her nails dug deeper, and her smile faltered, just for a second. "Come on, Riley," she said, her voice low now, almost a hiss. "Just a little further." I yanked my arm free, stumbling back. Her face twisted, her mask slipping completely. I didn't wait. I screamed, the sound echoing off the shelves. "Help! Somebody!" She lunged, her hands reaching for me, but I dodged, crashing into a display of batteries. The noise was deafening, packages scattering across the floor. I turned and ran, my shoes slipping on the tiles toward the front of the store. Behind me, she shouted, my name, clear and sharp. "Riley, come back!" I hadn't told her my name. I hadn't told her anything. Mega Mart's empty aisles hold Riley's fear. The beanie man's glowing eyes burned into her memory. She fled, seeking safety, but the shadows follow. A new job, a new threat, or is it the same nightmare? Stay with us, the horror creeps closer. The Mega Mart incident left me rattled, like a string pulled too tight, ready to snap. I couldn't shake the image of that woman's face, her too wide smile, the way she'd said my name like it was hers to own. The police had reviewed the security footage, but it was no help. The man in the beanie's face was too shadowed, and the woman had kept her head turned just enough to dodge the cameras. They called it a suspicious encounter, not enough to pursue, but enough to make me question every shadow. I took a week off, hoping distance would dull the fear, but it only grew sharper. I needed to work though, so I found a new job, a day shift at a small cafe called the Brew Haven, tucked in a quiet strip mall. It wasn't the Mega Mart's sterile sprawl. It was cozy, with warm wood floors, soft jazz from a speaker, and the constant hum of coffee machines. I thought it would feel safer. I was wrong. It was a cloudy Friday, just past 2 p.m. The cafe was slow, with only a few customers, a student typing on a laptop, an older couple sharing a scone. I was behind the counter, wiping down the espresso machine, the smell of roasted beans calming my nerves. The bell above the door chimed, and I looked up, expecting another regular. But the man who walked in made my breath catch. He was in his early 50s, tall and wiry, with salt and pepper hair combed neatly back. He wore a charcoal sweater and a long black coat, his posture so straight it looked rehearsed. His face was sharp, almost handsome, but his eyes were too intense, like they could see through you. He paused inside the door, scanning the cafe, the mismatched chairs, the chalkboard menu, the flickering fairy lights, before crossing to the counter with a deliberate stride. I forced a smile, my hands gripping the rag. "Welcome to the Brew Haven," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "What can I get started for you?" He didn't answer right away. His gaze flicked to the coffee board, then settled on me. "Espresso, double shot," he said, his voice smooth with a faint accent, maybe British, maybe something else. His smile was polite, but it didn't reach his eyes. I nodded, turning to the machine, my hands trembling slightly as I tamped the grounds. He watched me, not casually like most customers, but with a focus that made my skin prickle. As I poured the espresso, he spoke again. "You enjoy working here, Riley?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. My heart stopped. I hadn't told him my name. My name tag was in my apron pocket, forgotten in the morning rush. I froze, the cup shaking in my hand, coffee sloshing over the rim. How did he know my name? "It's fine," I said, forcing a laugh to cover my panic. "Keeps me busy." I slid the cup toward him, avoiding his eyes. He took it, his fingers brushing the saucer with a precision that felt unnatural. The cafe was quiet, the jazz music too soft to mask the thud of my pulse. "Ever think about doing something more?" he asked, his voice lowering. "Something bigger than this place?" The question hit like a cold wave, echoing the woman at Megamart, the man in the beanie's silent stare. My stomach twisted, but I kept my smile, my hands busy wiping the counter. "I'm good for now," I said, my voice tight. "This town's got its charm." I turned away, pretending to refill the coffee beans, but I could feel his eyes on me, heavy and unyielding. The student on her laptop didn't look up, and the older couple was too far to notice. My coworker, Emma, was in the back, prepping pastries. I was alone out front. He sipped his espresso, clinked the cup unnaturally loud. "You're young," he said, almost to himself. "You could go far, you know." He paused, then added, "What time do you get off, Riley?" My blood ran cold. The question was casual, but it landed like a threat. I stared at him, searching for an explanation, but his smile was slow, knowing like he'd expected my reaction. "Late," I said vaguely, stepping back. "Depends on the day." I grabbed a tray of mugs, pretending to sort them, but my hands were shaking. He didn't push, just finished his espresso and pulled out a crisp $20 bill, too much for a $4 coffee. He laid it on the counter gently, like it was a gift, and stood. "Keep the change," he said, his voice a whisper. Then he walked out, the bell chiming softly behind him. I stood there, staring at the bill, my breath shallow. The cafe felt smaller, the air thicker. I pocketed the money, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling. I told Emma about it when she came out, but she laughed it off. "Fancy guy, big tipper," she said, shrugging. "Lucky you." But it wasn't luck, it was something else, something wrong. A week later, he came back. This time, he wasn't alone. A woman walked in beside him, her boots clicking on the wood floor. She was in her late 30s, with sharp cheekbones and a trendy outfit, leather jacket, ripped jeans, that looked like it belonged in a city, not here. Her smile was wide, almost predatory, and her eyes locked onto mine the second she stepped inside. They sat at the counter, moving with a strange synchronicity, like they'd planned every gesture. I set down menus, my hands unsteady. Before I could speak, the woman leaned forward, her smile growing brighter. "You're so pretty, Riley," she said, her voice dripping with warmth. Her fingers brushed my hand as she took the menu, lingering just a second too long. I flinched, stepping back. How did she know my name? I hadn't put my name tag on today either. "Thanks," I said, my voice tight. The man didn't speak, just watched us with that same intense stare. I took their order, another espresso for him, a latte for her, and tried to keep the conversation short. But the woman wouldn't stop. She asked how long I'd been working here, where I was from, what I dreamed of doing. Her questions came fast, like she was probing for a weak spot. At one point she glanced at the man, and I saw it, a silent exchange, a look that spoke volumes. She turned back to me, lowering her voice. "I run an exclusive club," she said, her eyes gleaming. "Private events, high-end clients. We're looking for girls like you. You could make 10 grand in a weekend." My heart stopped. It was the same pitch, the same words I'd heard at Megamart, the same chilling offer. I forced a laugh, shaking my head. "Sounds too good to be true." Her smile didn't waver. "It's real," she said, leaning closer. "Girls like you thrive with us." She paused, then added, casually, "Step outside for a moment. Someone's waiting who can explain it better." Every instinct screamed at me to run. I straightened up, my voice firm. "I'm good, thanks." Just then, a group of teenagers burst through the door, laughing and shouting about a movie. The woman's smile faltered, just for a split second, before she and the man stood up and left without a word. I texted Emma, my hands shaking, and told her to come out front. We called the manager, who reviewed the security footage. It showed the couple entering together, but their faces were too shadowed to identify. The police said there was nothing they could do, just another suspicious encounter. But I knew it wasn't over. They'd found me again, and they weren't done. The Brewhaven's warm glow couldn't shield Riley from the couple's sinister offer, their voices whispering her name. She escaped, but the eyes in the dark never rest. A new place, a new stranger, but the same dread. Brace yourself, the terror returns. The Brewhaven Cafe was a place I could no longer step into without feeling a chill. The man in the charcoal sweater and the woman with the predatory smile had left a mark. Their words, my name on their lips, the offer of 10 grand, burned into my memory. I quit the job the day after their visit, unable to shake the sense that they were watching, waiting for me to slip. The police had nothing to go on. The cafe's cameras were too grainy, their faces too shadowed. They called it a pattern of suspicious behavior, linking it to the Megamart incident. But it felt like more, a hunt with me as the prey. I moved to a new job, thinking a change of scene would break their hold. I was wrong. I started working at a small convenience store called Night Owl, tucked off a rural highway about 20 miles from town. It was a lonely spot with a single gas pump and a flickering neon sign that read "Open 24/7. The store was cramped, its shelves packed with snacks, cigarettes, and cheap beer, catering to truckers and late-night travelers. I took the evening shift, 6 p.m. to midnight, avoiding the true graveyard hours. The manager, Dave, assured me it was safe. Cameras everywhere, a panic button under the counter. I believed him, or at least I wanted to. But after Megamart and the Brewhaven, safety felt like an illusion. It was a foggy Monday, just past 11 p.m. The store was dead, the highway outside swallowed by a thick gray haze. I was restocking the cooler, the cold air soothing my nerves, when I felt it again, that prickle on the back of my neck, like eyes boring into me. I straightened up, scanning the store. No customers, no sound except the hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint buzz of the neon sign. The security monitors showed the empty pump and the dark stretch of road beyond. I told myself I was paranoid, that the past was messing with my head, but the feeling didn't fade. I moved to the counter, pretending to count change, but my eyes stayed on the glass door. The fog outside was so thick I could barely see the pump, its outline blurred like a ghost. Then I saw it, a flicker of movement just beyond the neon's glow. I squinted, my heart picking up speed. There was a man standing there, half hidden by the pump's shadow. He was tall, wearing a dark hoodie with the hood up, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. No car, no reason to be there. He wasn't fueling up or walking toward the store, just standing, his head tilted slightly, like he was watching me. My stomach dropped. He reminded me of the man in the beanie at Megamart, the couple at the Brewhaven. I hadn't seen him approach, hadn't heard a car. How long had he been out there? I grabbed my phone, ready to text Dave, but the signal was gone, typical for this stretch of road. The landline was at the counter, but I didn't want to move, not with him out there. I glanced at the monitors, my breath hitching. The grainy feed showed him, still standing, his face hidden under the hood. I told myself he was probably a hitchhiker, maybe waiting for a ride. But his movements when they came were wrong. Slow, almost shuffling, like he was circling the pump without purpose. I grabbed a heavy flashlight from under the counter, its weight reassuring, and moved toward the door to lock it. The bell jingled faintly as I tested the handle, my eyes never leaving him. He was closer now, standing just beyond the pump's light, his head still tilted. Minutes dragged by, and he didn't leave. The store felt smaller, the walls closing in. Then, without warning, he moved. He walked toward the door, slow at first, then faster, like he'd made up his mind. The bell jingled as he pushed inside, his boots scuffing the floor. He didn't look at me right away, just stood in the doorway, his head lowered, his hands still in his pockets. Up close, he He smelled faintly of motor oil and something sour, like sweat gone stale. "Hey," I said, my voice cracking. "We're closing soon. What do you need?" He shuffled to the counter, stopping a few feet away. His hood hid his face, but I could see his hands, pale, knuckles white, like he was gripping something in his pockets. He muttered something, his voice low and rushed. "Car broke down, out by the road. Need a flashlight, maybe some gas." I stared at him, my pulse racing. There was no car out there. I'd checked the lot, the monitors, everything. "Where's your car parked?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. He pointed vaguely toward the highway. "Just past the pump, near the entrance." His voice was flat, like he was reading a script. I glanced at the monitor behind me, my heart sinking. There was a car now, a dark SUV, parked just beyond the neon's reach. I hadn't heard it pull in. I hadn't seen it before. My mouth went dry. "Need help," he said, leaning closer. His hood shifted, and I caught a glimpse of his eyes, glassy, unblinking, like he was studying me. "Flashlight. Check the hood." I forced a smile, my hands trembling. "Let me call a tow truck for you," I said, reaching for the landline. He shook his head too quick, his hand twitching in his pocket. "No truck," he said, his voice sharper. "Just help." He leaned even closer, his breath fogging the counter's glass. I glanced at the monitor again, and that's when I saw it, a shadow moving near the SUV's rear bumper. Low, crouched, like someone was hiding. My blood ran cold. There was someone else out there. "I need to grab something from the back," I said, backing away slowly. My hand brushed the panic button under the counter, but I didn't press it yet. I didn't want to spook him, not until I was sure. He didn't move, just watched me, his eyes following every step. I turned, moving toward the storage room, my heart pounding in my ears. The second I was out of his sight, I slammed my hand on the button. The alarm screeched, a piercing wail that shattered the silence. I expected him to charge after me, to break the counter or something. But instead, I heard a laugh, a low, guttural chuckle that made my skin crawl. I risked a glance back. He was still at the counter, his posture relaxed, his hood hiding his face. "Smart move," he said, almost to himself. Then he turned and bolted out the door, the bell jingling wildly. I ran to the monitors, my hands shaking. The feed showed two figures now, sprinting into the woods beyond the lot. The SUV sat there, its lights off, its engine silent. I grabbed the flashlight and shone it through the window, my breath hitching. The SUV's passenger door was open. Someone had been inside the whole time. Dave arrived 15 minutes later, followed by the police. The SUV was still there, abandoned. The cops ran the plates, stolen, reported missing from a town 50 miles away. No footprints led into the woods, no trace of the men. The security footage showed the man in the hoodie and another figure near the SUV, but their faces were too blurred to identify. The open passenger door haunted me. Who was in there? And why me? I quit Night Owl that night. I don't leave my apartment anymore, not after dark. But last week I saw the SUV again, parked across the street, its engine off, its door still open. And in the fog I swear I saw her, the woman from the Brewhaven, smiling, watching me from the shadows. The aisles of Megamart hold secrets too dark to forget. Did this tale make you fear the store? Share your creepiest shopping experience in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more horrors. Click the next story to face another nightmare. Stay alert, you're never alone.